Chris, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Cheat sheet. Oh, it's cooking in here.
It is. It's not on for the season yet. Ready when you are, Mr. DeMille.
I'm looking for. Oh, there we go. Need a little verbiage for the. Okay. Oh my.
Good evening. This is the work session for Northfield City Council, April 6th of 2021. This meeting has been properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of 2021. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, the meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting. And for this evening meeting, there were no comments received. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Please rise.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Roll call.
Roll call, Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
And Mr. Chow.
Here.
And Chief Paul Newman is participating with us this evening via Zoom. Mr. President.
Thank you. We'll begin with our committee reports. Councilman Perry.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Works repaired that dip on Roosevelt in the last block before Tilton Road. I was notified by Bunting Pharmacy that they have vaccine available by appointment. And also, anybody who's homebound through the interlocal with the County intergenerational services for people that are homebound, contact them. That's all I have right now, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Ox.
I'll provide you with the inspection report summary, and revenue last year for the first quarter was 50,000. This year it's 141,000. So there's considerably more permits going out, 47 this month alone. That includes a certificate of occupancy was issued for building 600 at Crescent Hill.
Okay.
The only one left is 700 out of phase 2. Phase 3 will start soon, building 800 to 1,000. It's nice to see that revenue up $90,000 for the first quarter. Also, Mary suggested as a reminder that spring household renovation materials are picked up May 17th through the 21st. So you can put construction debris out. You can put up to 3 items or 3 trash cans. They shouldn't weigh more than 50 pounds apiece. They don't want any hazardous materials. Any hazardous materials can go to the ACUA on May 1st. But just to remind people that it's a good opportunity to be able to put out some of your bulk items. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is that through, that's through the grant, correct? That,
Yes.
Yep.
Clean community.
Clean Communities, thank you. Councilman Notaro?
Thank you, Mr. President. From the Cultural Committee, Councilman Deweese and myself met out at the museum and did an inspection of some much-needed repairs out there. And with the help of Public Works and maybe some outside contractors, I think Councilman Deweese is getting some of that stuff addressed. Thank you very much for that. From EMS, we have a meeting scheduled. Thank you, Mary, for working on that. For tomorrow morning, I will be attending in person, and if anybody has any questions they'd like to forward to me, I'd be more than happy to ask the vendor if you have any specific questions and you know, things like that. From the veterans, I spoke with Quinn. He is going to put the Purple Heart Way signs within his next order. I'm going to forward over, you know, what we're looking to get for that. Also, you know, maybe in the future, in summertime, sometime we'll plan an event. So we'll have to start looking, you know, towards that in the future. From FAN, again, I'd like to thank Councilman Deweese for helping out with the sod that's being laid tomorrow out there. The field will be improved. So they're very happy about that out there. Additionally, from FAN, I'd like to just recognize they had a little heartbreak over the weekend. One of their coaches, Coach Rob Rodriguez, passed away suddenly, and he was a great impact on many kids and his nephew, Sonny Frazier, as well. So he'll be greatly missed. And then from the fire department, I spoke with Chief Cummings, and he's looking for some direction with the fire truck. So maybe by the next meeting, we can kind of talk about it and see where we're going with that. I don't want to, you know, avoid the subject. And, you know, if it's something he's recommending, I think maybe we should, you know, think about it.
Yeah, we can, well, next year.
Yeah. I think
Say
what
let's start
he's
evaluating
looking
now.
for is some kind of, you know, commitment from council or, you know, which direction we're leaning towards. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And that's all I have. Thank you.
One note on the Purple Heart Way, I don't, we received a letter back from the
Yes, I
county
got that.
executive, which is very nice. And of course, the last line I'll read, Atlantic County is proud of our veterans for whom we can never adequately demonstrate our gratitude. This ever is yet another example of our best intentions.
Yeah.
The Purple Heart Way, very nice idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Deweese.
Thank you. Like Councilman Tara said, we did meet. There's a couple of priority things out there. The telephone is still an issue. Verizon has been contacted, so they're going to get out there hopefully sooner than later. They're under COVID restrictions, so things are kind of slow getting people out to the site to actually fix the problem. We believe it's a phone line issue. It's not an electrical problem. And there are some electrical things that the Public Works are going to address, some outside lighting and things of that nature. We'll take care of those things in-house. So those things are in the pipeline. As Mr. Natara said, football field is due to be resodded. They're going to start tomorrow. The Babe Ruth field, infield has been resodded and is closed until the end of April. That's it.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Madden, or I'm sorry, Councilman Smith. I went out of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know that the mayor's going to speak a little bit about court in the work session coming up, so I'll defer for that. At this point, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now while we discern the county's movements. This Monday, April 12th, a couple of dates that are significant. Little League will be opening up its season on April 12th, so that's this coming Monday. So anyone who's able to get out there and cheer our kids on as they get outside this year. Last year it didn't happen, so be nice. Hopefully they get some nice weather and as they get this season underway. Also on April 12th, on the school, the matter of the Northfield Community School, they will be returning to a normal schedule. And we received notice from Mr. Bratonis, Superintendent Bratonis, that the time, middle school 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and elementary school 8:15 to 3:15 p.m. So those are the times that the superintendent, did you not get those same times?
I had heard that they delayed it by a week.
I have not.
Chief Newman, if you are with us on Zoom, can you confirm that? Did you hear from the school that they delayed by a week their resumption of normal in-person learning?
So you're saying April 19th is your,
I saw it on the lounge and parents were complaining, so that really means nothing, but that's what I heard.
I do not have that update. As far as I know, they resume normal operations.
Chief Newman just said he did. He
You
heard
did
that.
hear
He
hear
got
that?
that notification, yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
I guess
Chief.
that's a quarantine for the first week after break,
Yes.
out of precaution.
That makes sense.
But that means that the crossing guards aren't needed at all for that week. If they're fully virtual for that weekend.
Chief, are they fully virtual and there's no crossing guard activity that first week? Yes.
Okay. So that means
Thanks, Chief.
the crossing guards will resume on April 19th.
Yes.
On that schedule I previously mentioned. So I want to commend the outstanding efforts of our crossing guards during the duration of the time where they had that split schedule. And, we appreciate the efforts and the time that they put in to help our students get to school safely. But we are thankful of a return to the normal schedule, and hopefully it remains that way for the remainder of the school year. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Madden.
I don't have anything on insurance and safety. I did attend the library meeting, a meeting on Zoom with some of the people from the county, so that's in the process. It's still kind of like an exploratory
Right.
mission right now. And mainly, had their meeting, the end of last month. It was the first meeting that they had it in the auditorium, the first meeting, first time they've been back in school for a long time. They did have, they're planning a spring musical, Joseph and the, yes, I can't read my handwriting. I have technicolor, but it's not maybe, that one. And also prom is planned for June 3rd. They did do some special reports and presentations. Mr. Malone did that. And special recognition to Sarah J. Ramos, 2021 finalist for the National Merit Scholarship Program. Special recognition to James C. Wurzer, 2021 finalist for the National Merit Scholarship Program. Special recognition seal of biliteracy, Dennis Moreno in Spanish, Kenji Long in Mandarin Chinese, Emily Shankus in Spanish, Ivana Tavares in Spanish, and Phil Ferris, Mexico in Spanish. February, March students of the month, grade 9, Sarah Rogers. 10th grade was Haley Lowenstern and John Wallace. 11th grade, Connor Murphy, and 12th grade, Julia Goodman. And one other thing, they all looking toward a fall day schedule, 8:05 to 2:05, 6 periods, and then April 19th, alternately the A&B cohort days for 8 days, and lunches will be in the rooms. So they all looking toward normalization for the next year.
Wonderful. From finance, we have our annual audit is in the mix, hopefully for completion soon. And next meeting, we should be presenting our budget, correct? Yes. And that is all I have. So we move on to the work session. Is there an update for the Zion Road Pump Station? Easement.
Yes, I spoke with Brian Hume. He is the attorney for the owner of the property on which the pump station sits. He has consulted with his client, and we are on board at least for a subdivision and sale of the subject parcel. I quickly spoke with Rami Nasser, indicating that it probably would need an actual subdivision plan for the application, as well as to attach to any agreement of sale. So I'll let him speak to that. So the next step would be ordinance approving the purchase and preparation of an agreement of sale with the appropriate contingencies.
Thank you.
Yeah, as Mr. Facenda stated, that we will prepare a subdivision plan, and we have to get an approval from the local planning board and the county planning department, so we can file it by map, because we're trying to acquire additional right-of-way from the county. So
Right.
Otherwise, in the past, if it's simple application, we file it by deed. But due to the nature of the right-of-way, I think we should file the application by map. So we need to make 2 applications. So for the next meeting, I'll bring a budget for the application fees. I'm not sure if we have to pay application fees to the municipality. I'll find all that information. I'll bring it back to council for information next meeting.
Thank you. Is there an update on the Northfield Avenue and Route 9 drainage?
Yes, Council President. I received a call from the Bureau of Inspection, Support and Engineering from the DOT. And we were going back and forth to see the ownership of the system. The gentleman was telling me they don't own the system along Northfield Avenue. They own only the system along the right-of-way. And then he was able to find an old as-built from about 7 years ago. He sent it to me, and on the as-built, which is kind of strange, it shows one of the inlets are being replaced by the DOT. So that leads me to believe that they own the system. He understands the issue. He was trying to say they did not install that line, the small line that's causing the backup. But based on the as-bills I received, I'm going to respond back to him. I'll copy Mr. Facenda and Mary on the response, and Mr. Deweese, that they would show that part of the system was installed by them. So when the DOT installs an inlet, that means they own the system. They're not going to install an inlet on our system.
Right.
So that's where we are. But that was the as-built he sent me. It shows definitely that the inlet on Northfield Avenue, the big inlet on the left side, was installed by the DOT, which is the beginning of the system in question. So when I send that out to them, they're working on finding a solution, but they're trying to blame us for it as a municipality. Like we would never do any work like that as a state. I said, well, I disagree with you, because you're showing me the plans that you installed that inlet. So hopefully by next meeting, we'll have some answers from them. But meanwhile, when I send my response back to the DOT, I'll copy everybody on council.
So you'll respond, you're going to respond back to them that you see that they installed that in
I'm going to take
the as-built.
I'm going to take the map he sent me,
Yeah.
and I'm going to redline it and show him that you
Okay.
installed that inlet. There's another item for the second inlet that they did not replace it, but for them to even bring it into on their plans, that means they own it, because he's claiming it's outside the right of way, which I agree with him, it's not within the right of way, but this is the system they installed, and they have to fix it.
Okay.
Tom, can I make a comment? That Route 9 project, I noticed that they've, a lot of the manholes you drive over are all loose now.
Mhm.
And I know that they have been opening them, getting, pipe information. So along with your correspondence, we need to have somebody address those things because it's dangerous. Because they're all in the wheel lines. And I'll tell you where the one is I hit every day is at Route 9 and Tilton Road in the southbound lane.
Councilman, you mean the manholes in the middle of the street?
Yeah, they're right in the
Is
wheel
that our
lines.
System or the drainage? Or
It's the
sewer?
state drainage system.
All right, I'll bring it up to his attention when I send the email back.
Thank you.
The next item being the parking spaces at Jackson and Fay. I did actually speak with our engineer and Dr. Levitt, so we have some additional information, so I'll bring that back to my committee, and hopefully we'll be able to have, get this moving for our next meeting. On the shared court, would you like to give some update, Mayor?
Okay, fine, no problem. First of all, Council President and council people, I would like to request that at our first meeting next month, that we will have, and you've all received a letter from Mr. Jim Ferguson from Atlantic County Government, have a presentation and bring everyone up to speed as to what has transpired and answer any questions that you have. Also, we had a subcommittee meeting today, and tomorrow I will have the regular committee meeting. So if anyone at any point in time has any questions that they would like me to present to the committee, I can let them know what the situation is and be prepared to come back with an answer. First of all, number one, today's meeting, we met with, they referred to as court czars from North Jersey, a combination of approximately 2 different districts or counties with 6 municipalities involved, at least, that have some form of joint court system. And also representatives that were involved in the review of our grant of I think it was $150,000. And I'm happy to announce, and it hasn't been publicly announced, but it will be sometime this week, if not next week, that the grant was approved for us. We are still trying to put pressure on Senator Sweeney. As most of you know, that once the budget of the state has finished, a lot of these guys are going to be out campaigning, and there will not be any sessions until later on in the year. So we want to get this as soon as possible with Senator Sweeney. So we're trying to put some pressure, I should say pressure, but trying to persuade him to get this on the docket as soon as possible. As I said, there were a couple of questions that were asked, and my question to them was involved in the distance that people would have to travel, or our police officers, and I was asking this with these individuals with the Azores up in North Jersey, and they said, number one, they have not. It's hard to believe they have not gotten one complaint out of the 6 or 7 municipalities about the distance of travel that they had to appear before a centralized court. Number two, that they are getting the same message that we're getting down here by our Superior Court judges involved in this, is that virtual and kiosks are here to come, if not virtual. And the only time when there would not be any virtual would be any mandated court appearance like DWIs and so forth, or DWIs where they have to appear before court. They're going to be sending us some sample resolutions or ordinances, but it has been working well with them. Finally, just to, I'm just reading my notes here. Okay. I asked what kind of a commitment are we going to have, or we need, so that we can really firm up the financial aspects. So the game plan is that with Mr. Ferguson coming to the various different municipalities who want him to come and discuss this or talk, They're hoping by the end of May, if not June the 1st, they're asking those municipalities that are willing and interested to make that commitment, whether it be by resolution or ordinance, whatever it necessitates to move forward, because every municipality is some maybe a little bit different in terms of where they are at this point in time. So I'm going to say by June 1st, if this body wishes to pursue it, they have to make a commitment so that they can finalize the numbers and we get a better picture. We are looking at least a minimum to make this feasible, at least 10 municipalities we would like to see. I know we've gotten several municipalities already that claim they're on board, but it's still at the point where we haven't gotten any finalized commitments of that. So that's so far. Does anyone have any questions with regards to the proposal? Yes, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. You said Mr. Ferguson will be in attendance here
I'm
on,
asking permission
May the
from
4th?
Council President if he would like him to appear along at whether it be our during our work session or during our regular council session, but I don't want him to come during the public session. I would
Yeah.
like to have a commitment, a certain time factor. So that's Council President. I mean, I don't know if you want to answer Mr. Smith's
I
question.
I think I would recommend that we invite him to
Yeah.
ask questions. So
What would you like him to be during our work
I would say the
session?
work session make the most sense, yeah.
All right.
We'll add it to that new business on that work session.
Yes, no problem, sir.
Well, actually, it'll still be in the unfinished business. It'll be in the open business at that point.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the first meeting in May, correct?
Yes,
May
right?
4th, I think it is.
Are we
First
extending,
council meeting in May. That's what I was asking.
and who's extending the invitation?
Huh?
Would you like us to do it, or would you like to?
I'll send a letter from my office.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Did you have another question?
Yes, Mayor. With the Sweeney vote, so one of my concerns, I guess one of the questions is, you're saying how they want a June the 1st commitment from us. And my question, I guess this might be better for him in a month, but I just want to put it on the radar. Are they going to make a commitment to us? In other words, is this going to be ready to go January 1st? And are they going to have that, are we going to have the legislation? And are we going to have a commitment from the county that January 1st will be ready to go? And the reason I ask
Yes,
that is
yes.
we're obviously in the middle. We share this service with Linwood, and we have a proposal with Hamilton. And that's kind of up in the air with all this at the moment while we wait for the county. But is it going to be something that, because Hamilton Township was ready as of June 1st to begin a shared court under their proposal, and I know they've kind of been waiting, I think, on the county as well. I'm just wondering about this commitment from the state to pass the legislation, and is it then going to be up and running? So they want a commitment to us by June the 1st, but are they making a commitment to us to be ready by January 1st? I guess is my question, my
Right.
concern with all this.
I'm thank you for asking that question because it rattled my brain because I have a response to you. There is a plan A. Plan A is hopefully Mr. Sweeney can get this passed. If Plan A does fail or doesn't come about to fruition, Plan B is to do a share court, very similar to what we're doing right now. There would be one lead municipality because of the fact that it's a share, not a joint here in that respect there. And so, for example, I'm not suggesting we do, but Northfield would be the lead community. That would be the place for well, it should be for the hiring of the administrative judge and so forth like that. With regards to the building, that would be a question that we're trying to pursue and we just started this discussion, that it would still be at the county building down in Mays Landing. Okay. But that has not worked out. We just discussed that today, but there's a plan A and plan B to answer your question.
Does each municipality have to have state approval to go into a shared service agreement? like that?
Yes.
And so if we're waiting on legislation from the state because of, whatever you want to blame it on.
Well, as I said,
Would that be something that would
Right, so if by, let's just say, and again, this is what was presented to me today. If we don't get it by July 1, or, at least within that time frame that would be for the courts for the joint, then Plan B would be to initiate the shared services version. And that is what Mr. Platt and Mr. Gatt up in North Jersey, Morris, Mr. Platt, which is one of the court czars they refer to, has Morris. I can't even read my handwriting either. But there were like 3 communities up in his area, and then the other one, Mr. Gatt, was Summit, Berkeley Heights, and another community. So there is already multiple, as opposed beyond 2 communities like ourselves. Does that answer your questions, or?
I mean, I think we need to ask Mr. Ferguson more questions.
Absolutely.
I'm still concerned that they want a commitment from us by June the 1st, but you're saying if it's not done by July 1st, then
We're going to go.
It's kind of like
Plan B, because the summer session has already started with the legislators. That's how I look at it, and they're not going to be moving anything. So we got to have some kind of commitment. And the only other alternative would be the Plan B, which would be the shared service version.
Well, I would also just throw out there that we have another Plan C, if you want to say, in a potential agreement with Hamilton Township as well.
Right.
So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, the next item is to begin discussions on the recreational marijuana. As you know, it's been approved at the state. I asked for this to be added to the agenda because we have until August 11th to act. If we do not, then it's automatically approved in Northfield for 5 years. If a business opens during that 5 years, and at the end of the 5 years, we decide to prohibit the sale or any portion thereof, they would then still be grandfathered in. If we choose to prohibit everything, then at any time, we could always reverse that and allow it during the 5-year period. So again, there's a short amount of time because we have to put things together, and we would have to get it to our planning board for their review and input. Dr. Levitt is here and has some ideas. So, and a lot of my concern is just the way the whole thing rolled out, particularly with the enforcement side of it, that ended up being backpedaled and changed. I'm just not confident in what else is in that bill, but certainly it passed in New Jersey by 67%, and in Northfield by 70%. So it is something voters voted for. So we should address it and at least make sure that we're putting safety ahead of all. And I would ask at this point, Dr. Levitt, you said you had a couple of points that might help us as we navigate this. And thank you again for coming.
Okay. Is council familiar with all the different categories? Everybody a chance to look at that? Warehousing, distribution, retail. So, okay, thank you. You know, I think I understand the rationale of why it was proposed. I mean, there's probably people in this room that may have experimented with marijuana when they were in college or high school. Or
Why are you looking at me?
And I didn't inhale, Dr. Levitt.
And I think the rationale was, you know, if someone in this room was in the wrong place at the wrong time, they may have ended up with a criminal record or not even be here today. So I think I understand the rationale
Yeah.
for that and the comparison to alcohol. I mean, having said that, and you can clarify this, Mr. Bissenda, but I think we have the right to restrict its consumption in public places. That is correct. So I think you should think about an ordinance. I don't want to bring my grandkids to Birch Grove Park sitting next to somebody smoking a joint. But, you know, having said that, I mean, and looking at the different uses, I mean, my personal belief is what people do in their own home is up to them. I mean, if they want to eat donuts and get diabetes or smoke and get cancer, or that's, as long as they're not harming anybody else, fine. We have a liquor store in town, and there's the comparison. I mean, you have liquor and you have marijuana. What are the comparative risks? So, I mean, looking at everything, I think that there'd be little harm in permitting retail in the RC or commercial zone, which keeps it out of, the neighborhood businesses or the community businesses that are closer. And my rationale is it's going to happen. And it's going to be in Egg Harbor Township. It's going to be in Pleasantville. So, does someone have to go to Pleasantville to a retail store or something? So it's going to happen anyhow. I don't see a harm putting it in the commercial, the regional commercial area for retail. As far as manufacturer wholesale, I don't know that we have the size of
No.
buildings and infrastructure that Northfield would accommodate it. So if it's, I mean, it's certainly just up to council, but if they were to approve anything, I think it would just be for a retailer license. I mean, we do have our citizens that are going to try it and do it. And so are we going to send them to pay the taxes to Pleasantville, Egg Harbor Township, or just do it here? It's going to become, I mean, at first the thought, is kind of shocking to everybody, but legalize
Yeah.
marijuana. But, the more you think of it, it is the way things are going. New York just legalized it, and I'm sure there'll be a kind of a rush for people that want to experiment and try this. We don't know what, right now, there's nothing in the zoning ordinance that permits it. So we don't have a parking, it would just have to be the parking for regular retail sales. So if there's going to be an overflow of parking, that's one of the reasons I think it's better off where the shopping centers are out in the regional commercial centers. I just don't know how much traffic these places are going to attract and what the parking requirements are going to be.
Or I don't know how many licenses they're going to require, are going to be given.
I don't know if, it can be a political issue, pro or con for this. You have to consider that, I'm sure. But, my general feeling is if it's going to happen anyhow, then, let's be a part and get some money for it and not send our citizens out of town for it. So that was it.
But Doc, real quick, as you know, there's six classes of
Yes.
licenses. Is it and I'm not sure if you're speaking on behalf of the planning board.
No, I'm not. This is just as an individual. The planning board discussed this and said we want to see what council wants to do and then formulate the ordinance from
Okay.
there.
So as far as what you just said, is it fair to summarize that by saying the class 5 retailer license in the RC commercial?
Yeah,
zone?
I think that's class 5 in the RC zone would seem to be the most reasonable, least impactful.
Okay,
Still-
and then what about the class C delivery license?
I don't know. That might be suitable as well. Council will have to discuss that. I guess if you're permitting the retail, are you going to permit them to deliver it, or they're going to have to order it from a different facility? I mean,
With the
does
delivery,
this mean
though,
that we permit it to be delivered to people within the city? Or does
No.
that mean that we're going to have a facility that is the base for this
Yeah,
delivery
that's-
service?
I
My
believe,
understanding is deliveries fulfilled by the retailer.
Yeah,
And it's just a delivery service, sort of like
like a pizza.
marijuana Uber Eats or whatever.
what's it?
Hash dash.
Yeah,
Hashtag, there you go.
Hashtag, there you go.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem to make sense if we permit the retailer not to let the retailer deliver it to the home.
Right, we can't prohibit, as I was reading in
They
the
seem to
in
go
the
together,
information,
those two.
we can't prohibit, let's say we didn't do anything and it was being delivered from another town, we can't prohibit that. This would be to somebody to set up a delivery service based in
Right.
Northfield.
So if we can't prohibit it from being delivered by a retailer in Pleasantville, and we also have a retailer in Northfield, then it does not seem to make sense to
Right.
prohibit delivery from the, so I think you're right, Mr. Pacenda. 5 and 6 are kind of compatible.
And then the other four, distributor, wholesaler, manufacturer, and cultivator, your personal recommendation.
Well,
is we don't
I
have the
think
area
number
for
one, they're
that.
unlikely to occur because we don't have commercial facilities or of that industrial scale. And you could always add them later if you wanted to. And we don't know what the impact of those would be in terms of tractor trailers. I don't know. I have no idea what the impact is. You could add that later, but I don't see this that they're going to be scrambling to come into Northfield. It's easier to prohibit and add it later if you want it than it is to accept it and then say, oh, what do we do that for?
It's more of an industrial park type of,
Yeah, I think exactly. It's more of an industrial park type of operation. You're gonna have, trucks loading and things like that. So, I mean,
Council President, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. Okay. Council President, just a few comments based on Dr. Levitt and my own personal experience. When I was in Denver, as you know, they allow marijuana sales, nothing in the public. When I was downtown Denver, I didn't see any shops. But when I went towards, and I don't know if it was the zoning or just by chance, when I was returning to the airport, along the major highway by the airport, that's where the facilities where they were selling the marijuana. But I did not see within the public sector, public buildings, when I was downtown, not one person smoking or utilizing that drug. And I firmly believe in what Dr. Levitt said, what you do at your house is your own private business. But moving forward here, we do have municipalities such as Ocean City, not talking about the marijuana, but with the alcohol that they prohibit. And yet we have alcohol surrounding the entire around Ocean City. So it can be done if that's what one municipality wants to do and outlaw. It is what it is. As Dr. Levitt said, it's going to be there, but you don't have to be part of it. So that's another aspect to consider in that respect there. And my last comment was that about a year ago, there was 2 individuals who approached me, and they feel that they have the size and the facility to grow marijuana. And they were interested in doing it here in Northfield if they were granted the state license, which obviously didn't come back to fruition. But I'm not going to mention the facility name, but they do have the capability because I did visit it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Perry?
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Levitt, and your years of service on the planning board, I thank you for that and your opinion. Could you delineate to council the regional commercial district, just so they know for the record?
yeah, it's, I'm not sure exactly where it begins in Tilton Road. It's basically all in Tilton Road. We don't have one of
It's far
these.
down. I don't have
Yeah.
that, but I did look at it today. It's beyond Crescent.
It starts at Crescent.
I'm not sure exactly where it starts, but it's beyond that. I know it's that Crescent. It's really the EHT side of Tilton Road. The rest of it's considered.
Yeah, I mean, I would include,
Part of New Road too, isn't there? The far end of
That's
New Road?
commercial business.
That's commercial.
Oh, that's okay.
yeah, it's just Tilton Road. I would include the Gerwitz's Shopping Center as part, I think
But you
that's.
see, the problem that I have, not the problem, the issue we have is we changed that zone to split commercial and residential. Now, that zone has changed since the affordable housing plan. And that encompasses the whole property. So that's basic. I understand what the regional commercial is, and it's west of Crescent Avenue, but there's got to be some type of decision
Yeah.
on.
Well, I mean, your ordinance simply states that not to include the residential portions of the RC.
It is one parcel on the zoning map now. And it includes townhouse and the commercial.
Right.
The rest of the businesses outward on the west side, and then the other complex down by Bootleggers, one across the street that Garland's owns.
Yeah, we did have that as a senior citizen zone.
The zoning map shows from Deborah Street toward Egg Harbor Township. That corridor is regional commercial. Garwitz, and the residential portion of it is commercial multifamily.
Commercial
Not-
multifamily, it's
It's
not
not
ours.
in the regional growth.
So there is some tweaking that we'd have to
Yeah.
do, but there is a lot of area out there that it would be suitable for, I agree, but, through the years with the affordable housing, it has changed that big
Yeah.
complex there, but a lot of it is suitable, that it's not near homes.
Does that get us in the spot zoning, Frank?
No, I don't think so, because the regional commercial, it is already there, but it might exclude the Gerwitz property, that first property, not the second.
Right, okay.
There's a large section on Crescent that's a
Right.
shopping center
Yep.
that's not part of the regional growth.
Right, what it was.
Well, then,
In the affordable housing.
then,
It's
Chris.
not part of the regional
Oh.
commercial.
regional, the RC?
Yeah, the RC is pretty far up. What's your opinion
I
of
would-
commercial district?
How close to a school?
Or CBD for sure?
Yeah.
Deborah, it's Egg Harbor Township.
We'll have to, take a close look. You might want to include some of the CB zone,
No, this
as long as it's not the NB zone, which goes down Mill Road and along
This is Garwitz Crescent.
Route 9.
Bank, and
I don't think you're going to want it there. Yeah.
It's commercial multifamily now. Yeah, it does have a different delineation on the map.
Yeah, well, we could just redraw that RC zone to include Crescent West.
There's plenty of property out there right now in the RC, the way it is, without changing anything. Yeah. But I just wanted to make council aware where it's at. It's not around homes, it's not around churches or anything like that. And, it is tucked out away, right on the border. At Pizza Hut, there is going to be another shopping center that's within feet of our property line in Northfield. Just so you know.
Thank you.
The regional commercial, I think, it does happen, is the fit in Northfield.
Oh, good, thanks.
When you're finished this topic, I think one comment about the McGuire parking.
Thank you. Councilwoman Madden?
I do agree with Dr. Levis and, as far as what motives was the, detail. Everything comes in this day and age, it's like a liquor store, and it can be regulated and, it's benefits the city financially, to have retail. As far as, growing, as far as cultivation, there was a meeting on the internet, the information I was getting. There are a lot of environmental issues in this small town. I don't see where there is enough space to grow it. Things like water usage, they're very basic plans. Stormwater, wastewater, solid waste, what's left over from the plant. Lighting, and lighting pollution, the pollution from lighting, we already have too much of that in this town. Traffic and odor, apparently when they're growing this stuff, it's like a skunky odor. So I would say cultivation in Northfield would not be feasible at all. It would not benefit the city, but,
Yeah.
We can benefit financially from retail and have it, set up a good.
And maybe distribution, I don't know why distribution wouldn't be included in class 4.
I mean, to people's
You're not
homes,
growing it,
like,
no, for a wholesaler who
stores,
gets in product,
Oh,
and takes it to
wholesale,
various retail places.
You need
It's
to
not
go to a
growing.
warehouse.
Well, they would probably utilize, I don't even build, there's plenty of warehouse space in the Everett Township. If they
Yeah,
grow
I
houses
don't
and
think,
everything
because they
else.
must go to small towns,
Just the distribution
but
to
if,
create employment.
is there a limit on how many stores, or can we limit one store, or three stores, or two stores, or? Yeah, But,
You
definitely.
can do like distance between them,
Mhm.
like you do. They have something.
Yeah,
Gas
that would
stations.
help.
We have
And,
minimum
have
distance between gas stations.
Yeah. And stores, and have the stores distribute to the home, that's it, but I don't think it's like a
Did-
warehouse.
Dr. Levitt,
And definitely not agricultural.
Does anybody know how they're going to determine how many, is it going to be by census, like the liquor stores or the liquor license?
They have to be licensed, I think, by the
Right.
state.
Is it a license that we give out? Like,
No.
no?
We would have to give a mercantile license if they have a state license.
Okay.
And the municipalities, restrictions on the mercantile license, distances and things along those lines.
Yeah, I guess that's where we'd have in our zoning.
I'm not sure mercantile would apply. We don't, unless they have other retail, like a liquor store who sells nothing but alcohol, doesn't need a mercantile. The only reason Bootleggers has one is because they sell cheese and snacks and stuff. So if it's state licensed, we don't require them to get a local license as well, unless there's a different class of service associated with it. So the retailer sold rolling papers. We could mercantile that. But if they simply sold marijuana, likely not. Pardon? Edibles? I'm not certain. It would be how the state license defined what the product is that they're licensing.
But they probably sell, pipes and.
Paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can they sell that to minors? Oh, no.
What was that?
Can they sell the marijuana products?
Tom watched the public session.
Yeah.
No.
I think there's an age limit, right, on it?
Well,
18 or something?
No, yeah, we can address that. I'm sorry. It's parliamentary procedure. It's during the public session, but we'll answer your question. Yeah, the minors are not allowed to purchase. This is for 21-year-olds and over. That's the rule.
With legal, and I've been to probably 3 different states. You need an ID at the door. And I know at least in Colorado, they run that ID through a machine and take a picture of it. So you can't, and they have security typically.
Did you know that if a minor is picked up for marijuana, they don't notify the parents?
They
for
changed-
I'm sorry, yeah.
There was such an outcry that they
Oh, they
revisited
did?
that. Yeah, they revisited that.
Okay.
Please, we need to hold till the public session for your comments. I'm sorry.
I actually have somebody in Zoom who commented a long time ago, so.
Yeah.
This is a matter of procedure. What is the time limit that, because we have to go to the planning board and we have to get back to you, so you're gonna have to try to decide what you want to do pretty quickly. so
Yeah,
we can schedule, we're meeting twice a month. So that
For-
we can schedule it to get it back to you in time.
If we had an ordinance, Mary, how long would it?
We
2
introduce,
meetings?
we refer to the planning board. They have 35 days to respond. Then we get back, and if there's some sort of an amendment, we would have to amend. If there's complete concurrence, we could adopt. So conceivably, it could be a month. Introduce, a month later adopt.
Okay.
And we could always call a special meeting if we start running out of time.
Yes, because in the summer months, in June and July, there's only one.
Okay, well, we'll coordinate that. Hopefully, we can work on this between now and our next meeting, so we have something to send to you in the planning board and keep this moving, so that we don't have to call any special meetings.
Preliminarily, is council in agreement with what we've discussed in terms of the types of class licenses and the general location?
Myself, if we decide to move forward and approve, then yes, I'd say those classes in that location make the most sense. I wouldn't want to see.
Down through council, if
Yeah,
anybody has-
yeah. Is there what is council's feeling, Greg?
I'm fine with it.
You're
I'm
council?
good with what you discussed.
Yes.
As far as the distribution, like Paul was talking about, I might want to look at that also, because it might be more money to the city in the long run without having any growth for.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Councilman Madden?
Yeah, I am in favor of 4 through class 6, but also, I feel bad for, what is it, Hollywood Smokes or whatever, that's on Crescent on the corner on the other side. It'd be a shame for them not to be included.
They're in it.
They're-
right,
yeah.
yeah.
You say is any part of the shopping center?
It's
Roads
Norwood
and-
Shopping Center is outside.
Like the movie theater, it starts past the movie theater?
Yes, no, it starts from Crescent. We'll start to cross it.
So it would include Berwitz's shopping.
Yes,
center.
majority of growth, but
Because he's got some empty
most
stores.
shoppers on the other side.
On the other side of Crescent.
Right,
So
that's
you have to
it.
make it like that intersection.
But that's in the RC zone. The
Oh,
small shop is
okay.
in that zone
In that,
that's
okay.
allowed.
Rami, it looks like it dips into where that Miami Breeze and
Right.
shoe
Right.
store is, right?
So Paul, there'll be 3 businesses that sell like, whatever, the paraphernalia that would not be included in that zone.
What's that?
There'll be 3 businesses that you were concerned about one business not being included or being, to my knowledge, if what I hear from you, there'll be at least 3 businesses that currently are in Northfield that would not be included, that sell wrapping papers or whatever, you know.
I mean, I know there's one down in the Gurwitz.
Yes, that one at the, right by Roosevelt and Tilton. And then there's one on Tilton and right across from Bunton. And then that person also owns one on Tilton Road. There used to be formerly the,
Cumberland Farms used to be.
yes, Cumberland Farms, thank
Oh,
you.
that one, yeah.
Yeah,
That
they're not
just-
in the regional.
Yeah, they're not in that
That's too
zone,
close
so.
to residential.
Right, inside, they're not in that zone. So I'm just saying there's at least 3 businesses that would be.
They'd have to move. Your retail space.
Councilman Smith.
Well, I guess to represent the 30%, I did not vote for this legalization of recreational marijuana. I do not support it, and I will not vote for it in favor of any of it.
Thank you. And Councilman Notaro?
I'm on the fence.
Okay. All right, so what we can do is anyone interested in forming a committee to try to put something together that we can present to the next, to our next council meeting?
I'd be willing to sit on that if you want a committee.
Okay. Okay, so Councilman DeWeese, Councilman Perry, and Councilman Otts? Thank you, gentlemen. If you could, while we're still in this topic,
I'm sorry, Utz, Deweese, and who? You?
No, Utz DeWeese and Councilman Perry.
Thank you.
Did anyone, as part of that committee, if you could just keep both Dr. Levitt and Chief Perry in the loop. So
Chief.
Chief Newman. I changed the job.
He just got promoted. Councilman just got promoted. I like that one.
Weird thing is, he saluted as soon as he said.
I know. Somebody get him a badge. Okay.
He has one already.
All right. All right, thank you. Any other input, council? Okay. At this time,
Grants.
Oh,
But could I got a couple issues.
Yes, sir.
On the new business. I think everybody was copied by Mr. Goldstein. I guess we can do it under engineering if we have to. He's requesting an additional 6 feet widening on the reconstruction of the Maple Avenue in front of his house. And he was basically, it is a 16-foot wide road. He's respectfully asking that we widen it, an additional amount up to 6 feet. And then we give all the needed approvals from his property, and I have all the information here. Everybody was copied electronically today. This is probably the 3rd time he's come to me with it. And there would be an increase in the cost of the road.
right.
It is pretty narrow, and it is washing out in areas.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I mean, his driveway, yeah, is that his?
How many, are there other residents that are affected by the street size?
I
Frank?
believe it's all on his side, from what I can see with
Yep.
the photos he's given me.
Okay.
But it does run 200 foot.
So if the proposal went through, would it be, it would be the widening of the street and Rami, I'll present to you, would be on his side and not on the other side that with other residents?
Yes, that's because when you look at the street from Lake,
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit wider, then it narrows down all the way up
Right.
to Walnut, then it goes all the way up to Dolphin. It's a narrow street.
Yeah.
But if you widen his section, now you're gonna have a narrow section after that. So
Yes.
it's not, you can't win this until you widen the whole street. Otherwise,
It
you'll get
would
a
make
wider
sense.
street, then you're gonna have a portion of it into the neighbor's driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we stop? So,
If we widen the entire, if we, I don't have a map, so I can't really see what's going on, but it seems to be that if we widen the street, is it going to be the same as the other streets surrounding? It's going to be more like everything else in the area, or is it going to be out of the
It's still
ordinary?
gonna be narrower. Our streets are 30 feet. That section is like, basically it's an alley. And I met with Mr. Goldstein. His issue was about drainage. I said, when we pave the road, we are going to widen it a bit. So the area that's washing out, we will put asphalt and try to create kind of a swale along the road to eliminate his concern. Just keep in mind, widening the road on his side, there's trees have to be coming down. There's no room to do 6 feet. So it's gonna be a major,
And it's
Major
just in that location, or it's going to be the whole way?
the whole.
The whole way.
The whole, yeah, because then you have to cut the road, you have to cut the dirt down. You need to then put the DGA, you have to put stab base, top. It becomes expensive.
Is this similar to the railroad ties from,
No.
like, is this something like, if we do this, is it like, something we don't really need to do?
You
Yet,
see, his house
Or
also
we're-
is like within not even 10 feet of the street. Then if you widen the street, his house would be closer to the street. It's really narrow area. These are alley roads. They're not really your typical roads.
Yeah.
They're not
So-
your typical like Shepherd, and they're not like that.
And he
What's the
doesn't have
address?
another street that his house is on. His house is on
And then
that.
he's on the corner. He's on Lake.
Okay, so he's
Also,
on,
he has a corner lot,
okay,
but he accessed the house from Maple.
yeah. So what did I see?
Lake and Maple?
Lake and Maple, that's a corner, his corner lot.
Okay.
Yeah, Council President, the only reason why I
Is this-
mentioned that many years ago, when I was in charge of the road department, we have a street that's very, very narrow. It's a 30, I think it's 30 or whatever. And the resident in question did not want to widen the road because they had a tree there. And they did not want the tree removed. And then that just disrupted the whole thing, that just that one person created a situation. So that's why I asked if there were other residents that would be affected by the widening of the property
It's on
or
his
losing
side.
some property.
But keep in mind, we have other streets in town like that.
Oh, yes, yes,
Remember
I-
Ireland? Ireland is the same way.
Yes, that's
Same
another
with
one.
as Ireland.
Is
Uh,
that, and we're looking at, it said in his letter, 200 feet of, so is that how long,
Yeah,
These-
his frontage is 200 feet.
how long he'd want to, how long his proposal would be to widen?
Right.
And
but-
then how much more footage is there until we hit another narrow spot?
It's right there. You're gonna widen his road, and then you're gonna hit somebody's driveway, the neighbor's driveway. So the widening will be into the neighbor's driveway. Just imagine your driveway is
Oh,
coming
yeah.
through. Now the road is in your driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you continue, you go all the way up to Walnut, and then it gets narrower from Walnut to
Again.
Dolphin. If you know that dog
Yeah.
leg, that's too narrow. But these are alley street. They're not your typical.
So we could be opening up a Pandora's box where it
And
affects
the
one
right of
and
way is
then
not
another.
50 feet there. It's a narrow right of way.
Yeah,
And this is on our next, this is due to be,
I'm working on
Big,
that
yeah.
now. Yeah, it's part of the 2020 road program.
So that's on the list.
It's on a project that's awarded to a contractor.
Yeah.
We're working on that. And as I mentioned to Mr. Goldstein, that we will try to straighten up the edge of the road, try to widen it a bit, but I can't go this the whole 6 feet. It becomes too expensive.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work has to get done. Trees have to come down, road has to be regraded. It becomes more cumbersome. It's not something simple. I can tell the contractor, okay, just give me an extra foot. That's simple. We can do that during construction. And I told him we will do that to eliminate his issue with
Right.
drainage
Right.
by widening the paving and swaling it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
in a
if
sense,
we-
you're adding to this job that we don't really need to add to. Like similar to the railroad track,
Correct.
we're not responsible for that.
No.
So, we can't really just add it in arbitrarily into any job.
No,
Just like this.
it's unnecessary because it is how it is now. It's not, if I'm widening all the road and leaving this section unwidened, of course we can't do that. but we're not starting that kind of work.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, if we,
When you come in off of Lake, on the Maple, the street is wide, and then it just narrows right
Just
on
the
down.
first 5 feet, Frank, the first 5 feet, they put the radius.
Right, but I'm saying, if we gave them 2 or 3 foot, we wouldn't have to take the trees down.
Actually, 3 feet, you'll take the tree down, because then you're gonna be cutting the road down, and now the roots will be exposed, and that tree is gonna fall down.
What kind of tree is it?
It will, this big?
Is it a site triangle?
No, no, no. It's
Darn
in
it.
front of his house.
Disability issue, correct? And for one person, I mean, there are other narrow alley-like streets in this town, I mean, all streets wide in the boulevard.
This, clarify this, though, this is a street, it's not an alley.
No, it's a
Alleys-
street,
The
but it
alleys
ha-
don't have names.
Right, it's a street, but it
But
has
it's
like,
narrow, right?
This is a
narrow
narrow
street,
street.
yeah. Yeah, no,
It's 16 feet wide.
It,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like it's a feasible option anyway, and.
I mean, he has
Was the
an,
house purchased, but then she was.
Oh, it's just-
like this one?
nothing changed, that's why.
Nothing's changed.
But I mean, he has a legitimate concern about the drainage, which we will address.
Yeah, you're
When I
gonna
met with
address
him, I
that.
said, we'll address that, we'll try to eliminate this drainage
I
issue.
think that certainly sounds like, that's, you know, certainly above and beyond, and I want to make sure that you're doing due diligence to do that. If the water is not feasible.
I mean, my job is not to spend money where it's not needed. That's what I'm tasked to, just try to do what we have to do with the funds we have.
I think,
But you,
Because every time he calls me, I said, I can't make a decision, I can't spend money, I need council's approval. That's the reason I think he came to council for that.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, the street is exactly what he bought his house, it's exactly what he has, it's not something we changed. We did not narrow the street.
Many meetings happening
Yeah.
here, down here, down here.
What are you looking at?
To get an answer?
No, what are you looking to put this to, is this out to bid yet?
Yeah, the contractors already have, we awarded the contract.
Okay, is there a way that myself and Frank can meet you out there to see if
Sure.
there's any type of
Yeah, I mean,
compromise?
I have we can push this portion of the contract to the last portion of the job. So we have time. We can meet if you would like next week. And then for the next council meeting, we'll come back and make a get a
I think
recommendation
we
from
can-
council.
I think we could figure something out, Tom.
thank you.
So,
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Frank.
All right.
Rami, thank you. Anything else to add to the new business?
okay, thanks.
So are we doing it or not? I'm confused.
Councilman Perry and Deweese will meet with engineer to try to come up with a solution
Thank
We'll
you.
give you a call.
Constraint-
We'll set
within-
something up.
within the constraints of this paving project. Okay, can we all refer to our agendas? Approval of the minutes. Councilwoman Madden, Councilman Deweese. Resolutions. Councilman Perry, Councilman Notaro. Ordinances. Councilman Utz, Councilman Smith. Payment of the bills. Councilman Smith. And meeting notices, Councilwoman Madden.
Need a second on bills.
I'm sorry, second on bills. Councilman Deweese.
And,
Oh. Oh, okay. Do I need a second on minutes?
You have a second on minutes, but on meeting notices, you do not need a
I
second.
didn't- Okay, I didn't, okay. One item that we did miss in the agenda was new grants. I think there actually is one.
Mary just sent me a potential grant. I discussed that with Councilman Louise. We're gonna meet to talk about for recreational improvements.
Oh, yes.
So by next meeting, hopefully we'll be able to come back with some ideas on what we want to apply for. And I think-
Recreational sports fields, not recreational anything else.
I don't know.
All right, I got it.
Classified as recreational.
I don't think the grant covers
We're
that.
gonna stretch that.
Well, it's legal, so I'm just kidding. There's one item we didn't discuss, is the parking lot,
Yes,
part of the, I think for.
Yes,
Dr. Levitt.
Dr. Levitt, I know you had some input for that. Lisa, we kind of moved on with that too quickly.
Just very quick, getting a little late here, but, This, I always thought that was just, de facto parking that the deli had, and actually it was leased to the law office, and they had approval back when we had two boards. We had a zoning,
Yeah.
and we had a planning board, so the planning board wasn't a part of this. We talked about, there may be a plan somewhere in City Hall that it's never really been executed. We don't know if they were supposed to pave that or what they're supposed to do, provide drainage. I would suggest you just, check with the police chief, make sure there haven't been parking issues there. If they're running, I mean, they're supposed to have 15 spots. They don't have that. I don't want to see more of Wabash paved if they don't have to do that. But my suggestion, if you're going to renew the lease, I would just add a provision that if there's any change in the character of the business, for example, if they sell, it becomes a medical office and then there's more required parking, that it would require a review, or any change, any physical change to the parking lot would require review by the city engineer, I would guess, to see if it's going to affect drainage or how they're going to park it. So you might want to just look at that lease, and if you can add those provisions in,
Yeah.
with some protection. I don't know that there've been problems with the parking. Check with the police.
I've checked, yeah, I spoke with, I spoke with code enforcement and they didn't have any.
Yeah,
calls.
it looks like it's not.
It's pretty quiet
Whenever I
there.
drive by there, it's never really full. I don't think it's an issue.
No.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, there was a zoning approval, plan approval, I'm not sure which, what I read in the information that
Yeah.
you gave me
Yeah.
to the committee. There was a approval for expansion on the property for other stories, and that was conditioned on those spaces being adjacent
Okay.
to it in the agreement. And the lease agreement, through the transition of properties with the bike path, we are the landlord and have to really honor that to some certain extent, because the approvals went with the property. As that property went forward, was sold, and the bike path property was sold, we are now responsible for what was approved in the past.
Right, and they may not have done that. They didn't, it doesn't appear that they did that expansion, so.
Yeah, they never did these, but I mean, check with Mr. Casenda.
Okay.
I think, and if you're going to be renewing the lease, you can add reasonable conditions to that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. At this moment, we'll move on to the public session. The meeting is now open to the public. For anyone from the public wishing to speak on any subject, please state your name and address for the record and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
My name is Heather Mellon, 2509 Herbert Drive, North. I have a couple of things. First of all, I would like to thank the mayor and city council for all of their help with the crossing guards. I'm the crossing guard supervisor.
Oh, thank you.
For all their help during these past few months. The guards certainly appreciate all the things that this city has given us, chairs and thermometers and hand wash and masks and things. And it really meant a lot to us that you did that. We realized the extra cost was a burden on the city, but the safety of our children come first. And we did our very, very best to, be very lighthearted with the children, because it was difficult with that schedule that the superintendent had given the children. I also want to thank Mary Panisi and her assistant Shannon. Whenever I needed anything, she was there and always took care of all my requests. Sometimes I was a bit much. And also the chief of police and Captain Steineke, they were also, very, very good to us. There was more than a few times where we did not have enough guards to cover all the posts. And our police department, our policemen took over the different posts that were necessary. So the children were always taken care of at all times. Not too much, I'm going to change hats now. I'm the,
Well, before you change hats, thank you so much. Thank you very
you.
much. Thank you for being out there.
I'm going to change hats. I'm the president of the Friends of the Northfield Library, and not too much was said tonight about the possibility of the library becoming a county library over a city-owned library. And I'll just be aware of any new news about any decisions that, are made. Things will really change if it becomes county. There won't be any friends anymore. I don't know about activities or anything, but we'll wait and see with more information that comes out. I don't know if anyone has driven by the library, but one of the Eagle Scouts has done their Eagle project in the back and has painted a big bookshelf. Yes, it really looks nice. So if you have a chance, go in the library, right in the back, and there's a great big bookshelf on the back.
Heather, if, Mr. Council President, may I just address?
Yeah, sure.
Heather, I will be proposing to City Council to have a representative from the county to come here and give a presentation. But to answer some of your questions, one of the concerns that I had received from council was the outreach programs that we have now. Would they still be in effect? Could we still have them and so forth? And I was assured by the county administrator that this is no problem. But the only difference is, assuming that it's legit, it would have to go now to the county through an application process as opposed to our current director. So that would be the only change in that. But they are very, very receptive to continue to have Northfield-related outreach programs. Now, there was a statement from one person that said, well, Summers Point doesn't do it and XYZ doesn't do it. That's why Northfield stands out. And with all due respect, as I was told from the county, is that each facility has a director and they decide as part of the input through the county director of the library if they want to do a certain project. And with all due respect, and I'm not going to mention any municipalities, but some do more and some do less. Okay. As far as the Friends of the Library, yes, if it became a county facility, you would no longer be allowed, or not you personally, but any club or organization would not be able to conduct fundraising projects or fundraising events at the library. However, the Friends of the Library can continue as long as they can have their fundraisers or so forth at another facility or maybe at your house.
Why not?
But that would continue. There's nothing wrong with that. And they could possibly be, if there's anyone interested, representation on the county advisory board.
Oh.
Now, a project like the painting of the mural of the Boy Scouts, keep in mind that there's nothing wrong with it. There's no, any derogatory, anything like that, but that is city property. Northfield, we will not be, if we became a county facility, we will still own the building and the property. So we would have some input as far as allowing something like that when we go before the county. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Who appoints the representation for the county board?
I believe there's a county executive. I may be wrong, but I would assume that is the case there.
But he'll pull somebody from our town. To represent.
Absolutely. That was something that if we did do it, I said we have to have some representation there.
Okay.
All right, one more thing.
Yes.
About the marijuana. There's a major problem in the United States with drugs. And as a lot of you know, or have read that marijuana is a stepping stone to more potent drugs. That's not all the case with everyone that smokes it during marijuana, that's for sure. But with our youth today, I'm not so sure. And even if you have to be 18 or 21 to smoke, to buy marijuana, that doesn't mean our lower age children are not going to get a hold of marijuana, because it will be a lot easier to get a hold of it now that it's for sale. And I don't think just the city making money on marijuana justifies the health and welfare of not only our children, but our citizens as well. And that's the only.
Thank you.
Council President, I just want to make a comment with regards to Ms. Mills. And I agree with you, all right? Just because, and I don't want to say yes or no, that we represent the city's opinion here, but just as the incentive to get some tax money for the whole benefit of realizing that we have the marijuana sales here in Northfield, but what does it lead to? I mean, if, just say hypothetically, we decide we don't want marijuana sales in here and other municipalities want to sell it, they're going to get it. It's the same thing, whether it be drugs, whether it be guns, or other things that, alcohol, all right? There are other communities that are going to allow it, all right? It's a reality, and now you're going to have to decide, do you want to have it in your city, all right? That's number one, all right?
That's why we put it on the agenda. We need
Absolutely,
to have this-
absolutely.
We need to have this discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
So,
and while this is a public session, however.
but I just wanted to comment.
I think it's
with the
important,
comment
it's an
with
important
her.
comment.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, Mayor.
Yes,
I
right,
think it's important to bring it up.
yes.
Those are important points.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just to clarify the issue with the library, for the public's knowledge and my knowledge, how does the referendum come about?
Well, it's my understanding, and I may be wrong, but council's going to have to make that decision. If council doesn't go forward with it and makes a proposal, and it would be before our city clerk, who would then have to go before the county as far as getting on the ballot in November. If it's a dead issue with us, then it doesn't go any forward. Because the represented as the referendum obviously is, we're putting it back to the voters of
So
Northfield.
it would have to be approved by a majority of this government.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
I have someone in Zoom if no one else here.
Yes.
Hi, this is Robert Zlotnick, 8 Ridgewood Court.
Hang on just a second, Mr. Zlotnick.
Sure.
I'm going to turn the speaker up for you. You want to try again?
Sure. Robert Zlotnick, PhD, 8 Ridgewood Court.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Zlotnick.
Thank you. I am here as a resident of the city since 1998. For the past 25 years, I've served as Executive Director of Atlantic Prevention Resources, which used to be based in Northfield. We are now in Absecon and Pleasantville. We're a local nonprofit agency, and our mission is the prevention of the harm caused by substance abuse and violence. What we do is prevention, treatment, and recovery support. We specialize in prevention of alcohol, nicotine, and other drugs, as well as some modest school violence, gun violence, bullying, things like that. But we also have an outpatient addiction treatment program in Pleasantville, and we have a small recovery support center for people who are new in recovery. And I'm just here to weigh in briefly on the issue of legal cannabis in Northfield. Been a professional in the field for nearly 33 years, and I'm also in the 30%. I'm a person in recovery. I haven't had a drink of alcohol or abused drugs in 35 years later this month. I used my share of cannabis in high school and college, and later until I stopped. And the product in 2021 bears so little resemblance to what I last smoked in 1986. For example, the average street marijuana that was seized in the mid 1980s had a THC content, which is the active ingredient, of about 3 to 4%. And today's marijuana may average 20% or more. The last time I was in Colorado, I held a jar, and I was there visiting family, and I went into one of these recreational stores just to, gather some information. I held a jar of cannabis that was 35% THC. There's also products, shatter, dabs, wax, oils, tinctures that are up to 99% pure THC. So we're talking about a different animal than just a joint that someone may have smoked in high school or college. So my understanding is, and I spoke to Susan Corngut when she was on council. So in the last session or previous session, my understanding then was that this would probably go through in Northfield, that there didn't seem to be a will. So whether it does or not, I do have some suggestions if you do decide to allow sales in the city. A couple things to consider. One is that advertising should be restricted if possible. This is particularly if neighboring towns, like for example, Margate, Linwood, don't allow sales, especially Margate, because everybody's driving through. It's the gateway to the shore, driving down Tilton Road, using Route 9, a new road. If there are places that are selling this and they have advertising with a marijuana leaf or a green cross or something, it's going to cause, I believe, undue traffic, possibly people hanging out in parking lots, maybe panhandling, things like that. I mean, we can't stop people from coming to buy a legal product if it's available in the town, but there are ways to restrict advertising so that it doesn't become a mecca, that everybody who's driving through town on their way to Margate, if they don't have a store there, is going to stop here. And just think about the parking lot if it were Hollywood smoking. I don't know if that's even an issue from what I heard before. But the fact is that I love Northfield. I love the town, and I wouldn't like to see it as like a place where people from other towns come. Summers Point may also, Upper Township and Ocean City have already said that they're probably not going to allow sales. So that means Summers Point becomes like a mecca for people in Ocean City and Upper Township, if you follow my logic. Another area of concern would be, and as Dr. Levitt mentioned, Birch Grove Park, but also the bike path. Birch Grove Park and the bike path are already smoke-free, and I would just urge council to consider redoing that smoke-free ordinance. Birch Grove was, I think, one of the first, if not the first, municipal park in the state to have a smoking ban. And so I would just want to make sure that Birch Grove Park stays smoke-free, including cannabis, and also the bike path, which is smoke-free right now. And that goes way back. We were involved in that 20 years ago, I believe. So that's it for marijuana. I do want to say one more thing if I have a minute left. Do I?
Yes, please.
I would love to see a pickleball in Northfield, a court or more than one court. This is something that, I don't, our own Assemblyman Mazzio, his wife is a huge pickleball player, and I just started playing in January. And this is a lot of fun. It's great. All ages can play it. It's, as an alternative activity to marijuana smoking, it's really, hands down #1. So if there were a way to put a couple courts out in Birch Grove, maybe at the old campsites, or if that weren't allowed, if there was some other spot where this could go in, I would, really greatly support that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that information, Dr.
You're
Tom, Tom,
Zlotnick.
this is Councilman Deweese. We are in the process of coming up with some plans to have pickleball courts developed in Birch Grove Park, right around Campers
Hallelujah.
Road, across from the baseball fields.
Praise the Lord. Thank you. You can forget about the marijuana stuff as long as I got the pickleball.
Good man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Any others on Zoom?
I do not see anyone else in Zoom right now. We can just maybe give them another moment because sometimes there's a lag.
While you wait for the lag, Council President, I just want to make one other comment with the public session with regards to
Okay.
Friends of Northfield, Friends of the Library. If that did come to fruition, any funds that the Friends of the Library raise would be deposited in the county coffers, but would be designated specifically for Northfield.
Nobody in the Zoom queue.
Mr. Mayor, then the Friends of the Library would not have their own treasurer, and would not have control of the money.
The Board of Trustees would no longer be in existence. That's correct.
Is it, so the surplus would be turned over to the.
What
county?
surplus?
It's the surplus in the library, what the library has now. Do they have-
I don't know what the legal, but I would assume that would be the case because it's our money.
Or would it just,
No,
Start yearly
well, I
from
wouldn't,
that point.
I would not agree to that. It's our money.
Oh,
That's a complicated formula, a third of a mill.
Well, that's something different. He's saying if there's any surplus that we have right now. Am I correct?
I looked at the
It's their money.
contract and the surplus that we got from them each month is in that memorandum of understanding. We do receive monies back from the library.
Oh, yeah, but it's nothing, I mean, he was talking about surplus, not, I didn't think he was talking about anything else.
The surplus is generated by the third of the mill.
Right.
Surplus.
But maybe I misunderstood. I thought he meant is there any surplus
I
right
was
now?
asking if that gets turned over to the county during the merger.
Absolutely, the third of the mill would be.
If that's
The third
part
the
of
mill
it,
does,
yes.
But does the surplus,
That's the only way they would generate surpluses from that taxable land. They're an entity of themselves on a tax bill right now. the library.
But they have their own money that they use for
Correct.
beyond the mill.
But it's all generated by that formula
Mhm.
based on that net worth at that point in time in our year. Goes up and down, the property values go up, the third of the mill goes up. The past 10 years, it's been going down, we still received a certain amount of money negotiated back into our coffers of their surplus.
Okay, thank you. I believe there's someone in Zoom wishing to speak.
yes. Mrs. Brennan, are you there? I'm going to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Joan Brennan, 116 Dolphin Avenue. I just wanted to go over some of the things that I had come to the meeting last month about. Actually came in late, so I don't know if anyone actually discussed the parade and or the bandstand concerts. I wasn't sure.
Jonah, just real quick, I discussed it with our city clerk today, and I was going to bring that up, but go ahead, maybe I can, your questions might answer my things.
So was it approved that we can move ahead with the 4th of July parade?
I believe that's that is one of the resolutions on tonight's agenda.
Okay, and then also the concerts. Is that also part of the agenda as well?
No, the concerts are not.
Okay, so should I get with Mary and find out once? So do we have approval to do them? I know that you had said that there was funding for them, but we would have to start lining up the bands for the concerts if we're planning on doing the concerts.
You guys- if you-
Mrs.
Mrs. Brennan, it's Mary Canisi. Typically, the city really wasn't involved in the coordination of the bands that played.
Okay, no, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure it was okay that we move ahead and
Yes,
start planning them.
But,
Yes.
but bear in mind, and I'm not sure to what extent you may have been previously involved, there is an insurance requirement
Correct.
that has to be met in order for the bands to perform.
Okay.
I think what we might want to do now is, given the opportunity, is ask the solicitor to come up with some sort of an agreement that these folks sign, since we're paying them to
Right.
perform. So certainly I can help you and coordinate that.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you.
Just whatever funding you have, our budget's going to be adopted at the next meeting, and then we would not be able to supplement the funds that are approved in the budget if a band, for example, wanted more money than you had. It's definitely going to be a situation where you would have to plan within your means.
So so was the total funding $1,500 for the summer? Is that correct? Or do you not remember?
Did someone talk to you about what was typically funded in the budget for the cultural committee?
I think
Same
that's
amount
what
every year.
I think that's what they said on the email, but I will go back to the email and check. And then I will get back with all of you and let you know how we're going to proceed. But yes, I think we should follow through with what you had suggested and get something formulated so that we have no issues when we are trying to contract them.
And then whatever your budget line is, it's not designated strictly for the summer. It's whatever the cultural committee plans throughout the year. Obviously, if you're able to supplement through fundraising, that's great.
Right,
But
okay,
it's not, whatever is there isn't, it's for whatever purpose you deem.
okay, thank you so much. That was all, that was it. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe there is no one else left in Zoom who wishes to speak.
Thank you. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, the public session is now closed. Do I have a motion to
Motion.
adjourn? the
Second.
session?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You got a 2-minute break?
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, thank you. Good night. Thank you.
It's open. Huh? Yeah, it's open. Yeah.
Frisbee golf, part of the discussion.
Frisbee golf, yes, we are still discussing that. We're gonna beat out.
Good evening. This is the regular session for Northfield City Council, April 6th of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, this meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance would be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting, and there were none submitted for this evening's meeting. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Thank you. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remember and keep in our prayers those serving in our nation's armed forces, especially our troops away from home. And also, I asked everyone to join with me to vilify the racial hatreds that has occurred throughout our nation and continues to beg and continues to harass and create problems, especially among the Asian community. Thank you, and please be seated.
Roll call.
Mr. Deweese.
Here.
Mrs. Madden. Mr. Notaro.
Here.
Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Utz. Mr. Palestina.
Here.
Mr. Chow.
Here.
And Chief of Police Paul Newman is also participating with us this evening via Zoom. Mr. President.
Approval of the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of March 16th, 2021. have been posted. We do have what now on file and for the cycle.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor's report.
Thank you, Council President. The first item is, all of you have received the document that from the Atlantic County Administration regarding the library, county library feasibility study. At this time, Council President, with your permission, I would like to ask representatives from the county to appear before this body during the caucus, or excuse me, during the work session to make the presentation and also to answer any additional questions. I've only received one question from City Council, that is with the outreach program, and I think I mentioned that. So I would like your permission, Council President, at our next council meeting or
I would-
caucus meeting.
We do I think we have the next council meeting, or is that the one we're going to have the court
No, that will be in the May.
in May? Okay,
Yeah.
the next meeting, yes.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Also, regretfully, I'd like to announce that I have one vacancy within the Board of Trustees, who is our president, and there is another one pending later on in the next month or so. So there will be basically two vacancies within the board itself that if there's anyone interested, please send a resume and interest to our city clerk so that I can review it. I'm happy to report that our Atlantic County Alliance for Prevention of Drug and Alcohol Abuse has been increased this year to the sum of $8,320.28. I have spoken to one of the individuals who are involved with the National Night Out, where we utilize some of the funds. Kathy Smith, they are now since they've received the funding and things hopefully will get better, they are in the process of looking out and trying to see what we can do for the National Night Outside. It will not be the same, obviously, but it will be something that, we're looking at. And so we're moving forward on that. I had the privilege this past weekend to do a grand opening for a new establishment here in Northfield and Jackson and New Road. It's called Busy Bee. It's a little child study program that's being opened in. This young lady, I understand, was very successful in another area, but she decided to come to Northfield because of the proximity and just simply the facility itself. So I welcome them on behalf of City Council. I did receive in the past several weeks now some concerns and questions with regards to there appears to be, and I'm not saying it's rampant, but I just want to forewarn everyone that there seems to be some houses that are being flipped and being renovated by certain contractors that have not gone through the normal procedures or mandated procedures of getting a CO and or building permit. So I just want to bring that out to the public. I mean, these individuals should have displayed publicly and displayed in a prominent area their building permit or CO. But as I said, there have been some businesses that we have now found or contractors that are not doing that. In one incident, one person or one contractor, and we're trying to contact them, has been warned and has been assessed of $1,000 fine because they did not go through the permit process itself. And my last item is with regards to our police report for March. There were, for total calls, 2,338 calls. In terms of motor vehicle stops, there were 139. Property checks, 1,359. With drug arrests by officers, 2. Total citations, 120. And DWI citations, 1. That's my report, Mr. President. If there's any questions from council?
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one, Mayor, about the buildings with the going under construction without the COs. Did they get caught by us, or did the residents turn those people in?
They caught by us.
Okay.
It appears that in this one incident, what was it? One of our inspectors was going to just get, for electrical, if I don't know what it was,
Okay,
and they didn't have a permit for what they were building.
well, thank you.
You have something, Frank?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you alluded to the Asian community, if you could put some language together to support, maybe council can support our Asian community in the future, and I did receive an email from your sister, I think it'd be something that we would entertain. I would.
Yeah, well, council, and members of council, yes, I'll get something. I had a meeting last week and I don't know why they made me the chairman of the committee. But seriously, we are in the midst of one of the agenda items is to approach all city councils and have some type of resolution in support of the hatred and discrimination that is occurring within the Asian community. We want to be proactive. We're not asking the cities to, do something special, but, just show the support and so forth. So thank you, Councilman. I will get something for our next meeting.
I would extend that into any race for that.
Oh,
matter. I think
absolutely.
That's,
Absolutely.
I think it should be unacceptable and it's just.
I would like
No
to
reason
point
for it.
out just that we did pass something, I put something together last summer that did point, it was an anti-racism resolution that was put together, voted on and approved by council just last summer. And I think that included all races. So
Could you get something for me for that, Brian? Did you say you made something up where you written?
It got approved last August or last summer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
last summer. We've already taken a stand against racism, against all races. And, certainly I would think that would be inclusive of our Asian community members, but, yeah, obviously I
Well,
don't support anything, but I don't know if it would be redundant or not, but, I do feel that we address that, not to diminish what's going on recently, but.
Yeah, and I don't, and I'm getting right now in the process of getting a resolution that was adopted by the Atlantic City Council, and obviously as we all know, they have also gone on record with the resolution with regards to Black Lives Matter resolution itself. So this was another additional resolution. It just simply happened a couple of weeks ago. But I'll bring something forward and council can decide if they want to, do it after they read it. Thank you very much.
On the new business, Busy Bee, welcome them to Northfield and thank them for coming to Northfield. We hope
Yes.
to support you and thank you for being in our town.
Yes, unfortunately, we've lost some businesses for various reasons, but it's always a happy thing to see businesses coming into Northfield, despite
Absolutely.
all the hardships and things that are occurring.
Okay, at this point, we'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public? I skipped you again, Rami, I
That's okay.
apologize.
Thank you, Council President. I prepared my report last week. Just want to touch a few items on it. The reconstruction of Shepherd Drive. We have the final change order. The final cost of the project was $16,000 below the contract price. We were able to save some money on the project. So we have a change order. We'll get that hopefully approved tonight so we can send it to the DOT, get that approved and get the final payment to the city.
Thank you.
The municipal parking lot, as you see, it's been finished. The paving is done. The ramp is finished. We just opened the ramp today, got approval from the building inspector. There's a couple punch list items we're dealing with. During the process of the parking lot for the municipal building, the existing asphalt curving around the parking lot was in a bad shape. We're not able to save it. So I directed the contractor to install new asphalt curving just to keep everything in place. I mean, we spend a lot of money on the parking lot. There's no sense just leave dilapidated curving around it. So that was the decision I made that it should be done because the contractor was on site with the asphalt. So we did that. Bumper stops at the library when they were removed to pave, they were all broken up, they're all rusted up, and some of them broke when they moved them. So we installed a few parking stalls, brand new bumper stops there too. So as you see, the project is substantially completed. We're working on some punch list items, and the public will be able to use it. Tomorrow they are going to add the handicap signs. which that was one of the issues the building inspector requested. So basically will be completed by tomorrow. Public Works will remove all of the signs about the accessibility to the back of the building tomorrow, so we'll be back to normal starting tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and it looks wonderful back there.
Thank
The
you.
ramp looks
Thank you.
sturdy, to say the least.
This is in compliance with the ADA standards. Previously, we were not, and we were at the threat of somebody would sue the city because they couldn't get into the building. Now we are 100% in compliance with the ADA standards, the current standards. On the 2020 road program, the contractor removed the trees along Birch Grove Road. All the trees have been removed, stumps. Water company is moving next week to relocate their line, and we are going to let that sit for about 45 days. Then the contractor is going to realign the road to put it where it belongs, because as you know now, it's too close on our private property. It's on the city property, so that's being done. Also, the contractor for the local road program moved to start the concrete work, and as you remember on Maple. I remember last time we had a discussion, one of the residents came in, he wanted us to install curbing for him. I spoke with the contractor, and he said to me that if we want to install curbing, it will be just the difference in cost. Basically, it's $26 a foot. So if the owner is willing to spend that money, they would do it. They will install it for him, because that will be a $10 credit. So if council wants, I can have the contractor contact him directly and coordinate, so he pays the contractor. We don't want to be in the middle of this payment. So I can do that tomorrow, have the contractor knock on his door, say, if you would like the curbing to be installed, it's going to cost you $26 a foot.
That's on top of what it was going to be.
We were paying $10 per foot for the railroad ties.
Okay.
So we will still pay that to the contractor, because
Is it an additional
as a credit.
26 or?
Is it
it'll
an
be
additional?
additional $26.
It's an additional 26, not 26 total.
Correct. $36 is total, what he's
Okay.
charging the city for every foot of curbing. So if the homeowner wants to get it done, then he can make arrangements to pay the difference. And then when we do the final change order, we'll show that as a credit.
Okay.
If council wants me to, I can direct the contractor to contact him directly and coordinate with him.
How many feet exactly?
130 feet.
130.
Ooh.
We'll put the railroad ties back in. That's what we're doing, yes. Yes.
The $3,000?
So basically, he's getting a $1,300 credit anyway. toward his
$3,300. That's not bad.
Yeah. And for us, it doesn't make a difference because we were going to pay that anyway. So I think it's fair to the homeowner to realize that. So
I don't know what approval we need to do that.
Just to the solicitor, is there anything that we need the resident to sign saying if they're not happy with what the contractor does, it's not on us?
I mean, we should get some sort of hold harmless agreement from them.
Okay.
well, but he's hiring the contractor to do the work.
Perhaps it's a better idea for them to contact.
Yeah, they are.
outside of us.
Yeah, we're not getting involved in this. The contractor's gonna talk to him directly, agree to the price, and he pays the contractor. We're not paying anybody.
But
We're
we're,
gonna do a change order which credits $10.
Exactly.
okay.
I don't see, do we need to do anything more than just say yes? Yes.
All right, I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Meaning-
And I think that's my report.
Does
Mr.
anybody-
Facenda, was that short enough
Does
for
anybody
you?
have an objection to that?
Okay.
No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Got ahead of myself. So now we'll open the public session. For anyone from the public wishing to speak on any subject, please state your name and address for the record and observe the 5-minute limit per speaker.
No one in Zoom.
No one in Zoom? Seeing no one, public session is now closed. Resolutions. All matters under, before we go with the consent agenda, is there anything in the agenda anyone would like pulled or have discussion on?
I would just like to discuss the Resolution 77, 2021, just a comment on this. It's just nice to see that this 4th of July parade will be back after a horrible year we all had. It'd be nice to see that, and I'd like to thank, Joan Brenner for all her help and stepping up and helping out with that. In addition, Resolution 80, 2021, just recognize the members of the volunteer fire department for their outstanding work. If anybody knows what it takes to be a fireman, it's a pretty tough, and you have to be pretty dedicated to do that. So it takes quite a bit of time, and it looks like we have quite a few volunteers here, and we have to cherish that. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
they do provide an invaluable service.
Amazing.
And on that same line, I'd like to commend for their Easter bunny rabbit.
True, that too. Yeah, that too. That's a good touch.
Anyone else? Okay. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by council will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certificate of availability of funds. Resolutions.
Make necessary motions for 75, 2021 through 84, 2021 for consent agenda.
Second?
Roll call.
All in favor of voting on Resolution 75 through 84 by consent agenda?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion motion to adopt resolution 75, 2021 through 84, 2021.
Second?
No question.
Any question? Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Retz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Ordinances.
Okay, my first ordinance reading, I understand to do separately, Mary, is that correct?
The ordinances, yes, that's correct.
So this is the second reading of ordinance, I'd like to make the necessary motion to do the second reading of ordinance 3-2021. Which will be posted in the press on April 10th. And I guess next meeting will be a public hearing?
I can read that, yep.
That's the motion.
Second.
As Councilman Nutt stated, ordinance 3 of 2021 is slated for a second reading this evening. There will be a public hearing after which the matter will be considered for final adoption. This is an ordinance amending section 215 of the Code of the City of Northfield governing land use and development. Since introduction, the ordinance has been posted on the municipal website as well as in the lobby of City Hall. And any member of the public who requested a copy of the ordinance was provided with one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk. If it is approved this evening after the public hearing, it will be published a final time in the Press of Atlantic City on April 10th of 2021.
Roll call.
Open the public hearing.
Sorry.
There's enough on here for you to have a public hearing.
This is.
Oh, you didn't get a cheat sheet?
No.
Yes, you didn't open the public hearing. But you will
Oh.
talk on that.
Oh, that one. Okay. Oh. Sorry. We will now open the public hearing for ordinance 3-2021 and 3-2021 only for anyone from the public wishing to speak.
No one in
Nothing-
Zoom?
No one on Zoom either. Seeing no one, the public session is now closed. Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of ordinance 3 of 2021.
Okay, I'd like to make the necessary motion to introduce ordinance 4-2021.
Second.
Ordinance 4 of 2021 is to be read by title only. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 111 of the City of Northfield Municipal Code entitled Vehicles and Traffic. This is the introduction. There will be no public input, and the ordinance will be published in full in the Press of Atlantic City on April 10th. It is presently posted in full on the municipal website as well as in the lobby of City Hall, and anyone who wants a copy can obtain one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk during regular business hours. There will be a second reading, after which there will be a public hearing, and the matter will be considered for final adoption on April 20th of 2021.
Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rutz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the introduction of ordinance 4 of 2021.
Payment of bills.
I'd like to make the necessary motion to authorize payment of the bills in the amount of $2,035,624.77.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rutz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
And meeting notices.
And the next city council meeting will be held on April the 20th. 6 p.m.
Maybe some else, bit training?
No, continue.
6 p.m. 6 p.m. work session, regular session immediately following.
Council President, before we adjourn, I just want to remind everyone on council to make sure you finish up the GIF online course. We do get credit for that. so
Yes. We have till what, middle of May?
I don't know what the exact date, but Mary,
Motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Motion.
Thank you, Mayor.
yeah, thank you.
Second.
Motion?
Motion and a second. Mr. Notaro, Mr. Smith, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Need a beer.
Take care, Frank. I'll give you a shout. We'll talk to you around.
Send the Zoom yet?
You available Thursday, maybe? What time works for you?
Maybe.
All right, I'll give you a shout.
Okay.